Welcome back to another episode of Coffee and Chel. Today's video, we're going to go over some of the lesser announced upgrades and things that were kind of maybe missed on Thursday, as there was some new line combos added to the game that honestly I didn't even realize until I logged in this morning and went to take a look. So it does look like potentially maybe on non-content days we're going to get line combos added to the game. So I'm going to show you guys those. Which I do think is great. I've said this since the start that if they've got line combos, why not just add them on Monday and Thursday, automate them, just put them in, set it and forget it, and that way we're getting something during it. And I'm not going to lie, I didn't even notice it myself. We've also got some random upgrades to the XP path players. However, the biggest one is still not addressed, but I've got hope. So let's go on a little field trip here, guys. If you're watching here, let's go and take a look at the new line combos. Now, if you'll see, there's so many things on the banner, right? But this is why I missed it. Halfway down the list here, you see the new line combinations added. So you get a +2 overall now for a Blackhawk, Oiler, and Ranger, which is pretty huge. Not a ton of great options here. Obviously, you've got McDavid, you've got Zibanejad, and some other Rangers like that. The Blackhawks, you still have Roenick for sure, and maybe Daze. But it's one of the weirder ones. And then you've got +1 overall for Flyers, Panthers, and the Hurricanes. You've also got a +$5 million to the salary cap if you do the same thing with that line combo, the Flyers, the Panthers, and the Carolina Hurricanes. You've also got a +2 overall boost if you go Hurricane and the Columbus Blue Jackets. So I'll be honest with you, I don't really have any that impact me right off the rip. So there's probably some interesting ones. I would hazard a guess that we're probably getting maybe an Aster set player item or a high event item that will fit these. But we'll have to wait and see as the face-off event we get week 2 finally this Friday. But the other big notice, or the other big thing I want to go over here is that the XP Pat players got some upgrades to their skating stats and as well as their endurance. So very, very weird. Again, wasn't really announced anywhere. It just kind of happened in the background. So if you head on over to the XP Path player items, all the way down here, and you take a look at, just the upgrades, we'll start with Will Smith, because obviously as a Sharks fan, love Will Smith, and when you upgraded him all the way, his endurance was under 80 overall. And now his endurance is up to 86. And with quick release, 89 speed, 90 excel, 86 endurance, a half decent shot, and his hand stats are really good. Will Smith actually becomes quite a usable card for a majority of the player base, which is awesome to see because I think the XP Pad players were pretty underwhelming. And in NHL 25, when they introduced these, as the year went along, these XP Pad players were actually really good as they kind of flushed out and figured them out. And they kind of fell flat so far, and there wasn't a lot of line combos that really fit them well. So good to see that Will Smith gets one here. A pretty big upgrade there. We've also got one for Roenick as well. Hronek, sorry. As you upgrade him all the way, his endurance, again, 86. Let's go 89 speed, 87 excel. So a very usable Pacific Division right-handed defenseman. This honestly really helps out that issue that I was talking about if you kind of went after the more popular cards, the better cards in the meta if you were an online-only player, and you were kind of chasing that. I talked about how having Connor McDavid's captain card with the current iteration and not being able to go back and make specific master set player items, that you might run into an issue activating his AP bonus as a captain. Roenick really helps out, but his card was very underwhelming when you upgraded him all the way. Now it's actually quite good. So again, a nice little addition there. So Vince Dunn, if you go all the way now down to 85, he's got 85 endurance, 89 speed, 88 excel. So again, another very usable card here. And he's got good defensive awareness. So just wanted to point that out. However, the biggest issue is that, unfortunately, Macklin Celebrini, for whatever reason, the reward for grinding all season long to getting the best card from the XP Path still has 76 endurance. I can't understand why they would go in and address all of the other stats for the XP Path player items and not do the main one that had to have been the most vocal issue from the community when it comes to the XP Path cards. That Macklin Celebrini's card, a little underwhelming in itself at 87 overall, just due to the salary cap implication, but the 76 endurance made him all but pointless to activate and use because, again, $8 million to the cap is so much that you've really got to have a high-impact player, not to mention 76 faceoffs. It means that he's a pure left-handed center. So I pray that they do something to this card, and it would blow me away if they don't, because they went in randomly and changed all the other ones. I don't see why they don't address this one specifically because again, I think this would just go a long way to fixing all of the issues with those cards. So, again, a little bit of a random drop there. I do hope that this is something that's going to be coming every Thursday and Monday. I would love that if they added line combos. I know we talked about line combos in the last couple of videos, and how they really impact the market and just the overall. Those are the chase cards. The line combos are the new chase cards essentially, because whatever comes out, you kind of all just flock to it. So the more the better, because it does allow for players to kind of make new things and new lineups. I think it just hammers home the point even more that even if you get in a card that's an account bound, like it's a master set player item for say, or let's say an untradeable fantasy card, or not fantasy, untradeable card that is from a master set item from an event, it could be useful. And it goes to show that holding on to those cards and not trading them in if you get them untradeable is a bonus. Like if you avoided trading in Brock Faber, who is honestly one of the best cards from the launch of the game, from the Fresh Ice event, you made out like a bandit, because that Minnesota Wild Avalanche combo that came out, even if you weren't already using Faber, I know a really popular one was Faber and Coffee, just without any line combo. Now Faber has a far bigger use because he can go and get improved even more with the Colorado Avalanche player. So it is a very interesting dynamic, and it is going to be something that we have to get used to. But I think that now more than ever, it's safe enough to make master set player items, even if you're slightly interested. Like I mentioned, when there's an event where there is a master set player item that you don't really love, the marquee event, for example, I don't think any of the master set player items were really all that great. I talked about that in my videos as well. And in my No Money Spent team, I made Jack Hughes, but it was just because I thought that if he ever got a +2 overall bonus or a line combo came out, he would be the most impactful. And I think that's how we operate. Like, assume that they get a +2 overall, or maybe some big AP boost, or maybe a salary cap increase via a new line combo, and that makes it viable. I think it's safe to trade in your stuff for it. The other thing I want to talk about is that when it comes to the new cards and what to chase after, the Lindros and McInnes, for example, I think it's very clear now that you should, I don't want to say always be working towards an icon, but feel confident that no matter what, that these cards are going to have longevity for the duration of the game, it seems. So, for example, if you made a bunch of the 86 overall icons, and let's say they don't make your lineup anymore. Let's say you made Chelios, because he was a very good right-handed defenseman. There wasn't a lot of those. He didn't fit any line combos, but like now he does, I believe, with the new Chicago one. Actually, just want to check that out as well. The Chicago, no, sorry, it was Carolina and Columbus. Again, I just want to see the new line combos in game as we kind of do this impromptu, but you can see the AP list is growing quite a bit. As you see now, you've got the Chicago Blackhawk, Oiler, and Ranger. I haven't done a deep dive into what the possibility of line combos could be for this specifically. The one that came to my head obviously is always going to be McDavid, but obviously Roenick too makes Roenick a little bit more viable because you don't have to use him with another Blackhawk at a Finn. You can kind of change things up if you want to have multiple players that have unstoppable, because I think it's the most broken ability in the game. But you've also got one that's a +1 overall. I do want to touch again on +1 overall, guys, should never be something that you chase after. It should be a tiebreaker, or maybe something that supplements. You've got, let's say you went out and got Lindros, okay, and maybe you made the master set player Matthew Tkachuk, and you've got a Panther. So you've already got those two. Maybe you're in your lineup and you really like using them. Then maybe you go and take a look and try and find a Carolina Hurricane that would complete that line. Like, that would be the only way I would chase after +1 overall. I just don't think it's worth it. +2, I notice, and maybe it's all in my head, but for example, with Pasternak, Sakic, and Pettersson, I notice like the value of Pasternak, who I think is an okay card, but not the slam dunk by himself. But I notice Sakic and Pettersson more when I don't have, like, when he's in the lineup, to say. So just something that I wanted to bring up as well. As you see, a ton of line combos in. You see the +2 overall. So that obviously, Werenski would be a massive bump here. If you had the Spotlight Slavin from the beginning of the game, like let's say you went and got Slavin, obviously maybe growing a little long now. He didn't get the +1 overall. That was Wilson, but now Slavin's usable, right? So making cards untradeable has never been more safe. It's never guaranteed, but it is safe to hold on to those. So I think when you're going to do trade-ins, maybe just keep in mind that, hey, I can maybe grind out, wait a little bit longer. Obviously, if you can't wait any longer, like a set's ending, that kind of thing. But instead of rushing out and you've got a player that just pretend he got a +2 overall boost. Would you be okay losing that card in the future in the next month if he got a +2 overall boost? That's what I would kind of want you guys to consider when creating players that are going to get more expensive to make. So master set player items are going to be on the table for trade-ins. So just keep that in mind because I think it changes all the time now. So let's get into the most talked about questions and comments from the last video. And we'll start with a BBJ. He says, at first I was iffy about all the line combos and salary cap, etc. I actually enjoy it now. It's a different way to play, and I like sending screenshots of my roster to my friends comparing line combos. I've seen a few combos from my friends' rosters that I never thought of trying. Now it feels like there's more strategy to the game than just throwing high-rated cards in your lineup and locking roster spots. Great stuff as always. 100% agree. I want to say I was pretty wrong about the line combos when I saw them initially. I still think the best way to do it is every team gets a +2 overall if you run 3 of the same player or from the same team, right? Allow us to choose and make our theme team the way we want and get boosts. But it adds such a fun dynamic. And maybe it's exhausting. Maybe it's too much. Maybe it's annoying that things are always changing. Because I know there's a lot of players that feel just like they grind for all of this, and then the new line combo comes out and it's just far better. But it's something. It's something to change after. It is a force or at least a consideration to change your team, which is something we haven't had. I don't want to say ever in Hut, because obviously there was line combos and chemistry way back, but Hut back then was a mess. And for anyone that says otherwise, I just want you to go try it out. Enjoy injuries and cards retiring. So very, very interesting. Like I said, I was wrong about it. I still think there's ways to improve it, but I do love the line combos currently. I could see, like I mentioned, the salary cap annoys the shit out of me, and it's just because there's line combos that I've grinded for that I would love to use, and the salary cap hard locks me out of doing that. And while I think it makes things a little more even across the board, you don't have these god squads that all have +2 across the line. Because in reality, if there was no salary cap, everyone would have the best cards in the game, and they'd all be +2 overall, essentially. So now your overall cap is no longer 85, and now you're playing teams that have like in the 90s for when it comes to skating. So I do like that aspect of it. It just annoys me personally from the way that I've been able to play the game, and obviously I'm a much more hardcore player. So my own personal opinion, I understand why salary cap's there, and I do think that it protects the player base quite a bit. But I just feel like that's a more annoyance than the line combos. Great job as always, Livesy. Should you do an in-depth series on the top combos? Sure, you're a nerd and enjoy that stuff. I mean, I don't know if that's a shot, which comes across, so that should be great. Will it tank the market for some cards? Absolutely. But like you said, knowledge that's already out there anyway. So this is in response to me yesterday saying that I kind of want to do a deep dive into all of the line combos and be like, here are 5 options for each one. The ones that are important, the +2 overall, the +5 AP, the big salary cap ones. And I saw a couple of replies that did hint that, like, man, if I do that, it's an unfortunate part because I love when I would go and find the cheap buys on the auction house, the old Market Mondays back in NHL 21. But I know, unfortunately, due to you guys and the blessing of my audience, that people will just take advantage of it. Like I say 3 cards and they're all going to spike up 20,000 coins. And unfortunately, there's going to be casual players that will just be like, oh, I'm going to buy it anyways because Sleeve said, even though the price point is no longer the case. So I do think I will avoid doing a line combo one, but it doesn't mean that I can't bring them up when I talk about cards. Nick says, what are your thoughts on AP activation on certain abilities over others? For example, when would you not activate Tape to Tape or Born Leader so you could activate someone else's ability? Follow-up. Is it better to activate all abilities for the good players or to deactivate one so that other players can get a boost? I really appreciate all your hard work on the channel. Definitely don't take it for granted. You're crushing it, man. Appreciate that, man. So I think it's evident that I need to do a kind of loose guide to X Factor abilities this year. There are all X Factor abilities across the board have been improved. from the prior years. There were so many that were useless in the last couple of years, just as the game's gone on. When it comes to this year, the ones that are useless, in my opinion, hipster is one, because hip checks just don't do the same thing as they used to, and it's very hard to line one up. So that one's pretty pointless. I also think Warrior is only really good at. I haven't tested it. I don't know if Warrior activates on reverse checks, because Warrior is a great option to counter truculence, but there just isn't a ton of truculence cards out there. You know, I will say this when it comes to abilities and activating them. There are some that are supplemental abilities. Tape to tape, in my opinion, is a supplemental ability, meaning that it is nice to have, but it is not the main focus of the card. Whereas a card with wheels, a card with quick release, in my opinion, a card with unstoppable, all abilities that should be activated for sure, and then you consider the supplemental ones based on how many AP you have. Born Leader and Pressure are fun, but here's what I would do. Think about so Born Leader is on Sakic's Icon, if my memory is not a mess. I don't have it activated, and the reason is, how many times a game do you get shots or blocks or whatever with that specific player? If you are taking shots all the time with Sac, like 10 a game or 8 a game or more than 5, then maybe consider it. But the bonus you get is not nearly as big as someone if you were to activate Quick Pick on a defenseman, right? Quick Pick is another great one. I want to say it's, actually I am. I think it's a must-have, especially on defensemen, because the new animations you get when intercepting passes is crazy. It's really the only way to intercept cross-ice passes. So I think I need to do a tier list for abilities. Born Leader and Tape to Tape. Tape to Tape is interesting. So the benefit on Tape to Tape is really just the passiveness to be able to auto sauce. So if you read it, I believe Tape to Tape will allow you to make great passes or full passer rating from when you're doing backhand passes or anything like that. But it'll also allow you to auto sauce when a player is in the way, which is a huge advantage. Same thing with Send It. Made Send It a great ability, right? It's interesting because on defensemen, there's a play that I'll show you in a later video. And I've actually shown you it in my No Money Spent video. I do some gameplay showing in a prior video, where if you pass it to the middle, if you're at the point with the puck and someone's pressuring you, and the middle player right in front of the goaltender is free, you can use Tape to fire it just blindly over someone's stick, get it to that player, and then it's just a backhand in the net. That would be an example of using Tape to Tape, but it's just not something that I think is as important as wheels or unstoppable or quick release. In my opinion, you would want to have that on every single card. It is, I don't want to say it's a broken ability, but it is clearly a massive advantage when every shot you have is shot off animation-wise immediately. The amount of goals that you'll score with it are hilarious, and you won't even notice, but it does do a great job at that. They should stop us climbing down by losing in ranked. There should be a stop where you can't fall back every 2 wins. If you win 2 games in a row, you should move up. You should move up in ranked. Otherwise, they should give us rewards for earning XP in different modes, ranked in CC, so that even the player with the loss earns something more for playing the game, not quit. Well, technically the XP path is that. However, the XP path isn't deemed rewarding enough to make it worth it. Simple changes, in my opinion, that bring huge effects. If EA moves on this they will lose more and more of the player base. Pretty sad because the gameplay is pretty good this year and fun. Greetings from Germany. Bonjour, my man. Again, I think when it comes to ranked, there's one of 2 ways to fix it. Either add in a second reward path that is exactly the same, that does not relegate. Every time you lose, you don't lose a square. When you win, you gain a square, so eventually you will get to the end. The best players will be able to fly through it. They'll also be able to take advantage of the second reward, like they're getting double rewards for being better at the game, right? I think that's one way. The other way would be adding in objectives, but I think that's just a lazy way to do it, and I don't think they want to do that themselves. This one is going to be longer, so hopefully most relate to somewhat. I'm new to Hut, came over from Versus in 23. The game itself I find to be the best in a long time. However, one of the things I enjoy in Hut was having something to play for, a chase card. Now, with the rank system being what it is, I, like most people, are stuck in silver with no real rewards in sight. I've gotten 10 to 11 wins in every champs run so far, but most games aren't playing real hockey. It's playing the exploit the game glitches to win. But in being a double-edged sword between not being enjoyable gameplay and wanting rewards. Yeah, like this is a balance that they are going to have to figure out. There is no what's crazy to me is if they go into next season and they don't do anything to rewards, that means that that ranked is being played as much as Rivals was, which is crazy to me. So I don't see that being the case. There's no way. So I would suspect that there is a change to rewards in ranked. It is a new mode, technically, and they're obviously gathering data from it, which sucks because I don't want to be the one to gather data. Like, I want to be able to... It should just be fixed or, improved. And it'll be very interesting to see because it's a major issue that I don't know how. Like, I play because the way I have fun is when I just play players to get better. The rewards I don't even care about. It's just getting to the next level. Getting to Plat 1, I felt pretty proud of myself, right? And I didn't really even care about the rewards. They were just supplemental. But there's a lot of players, like, that's a very rare way to play it. A lot of players just play the game. They want to play online, but they also want to get the rewards. It's more important to them. And they just aren't being rewarded, in my opinion. So there needs to be a fix. Hey, Slaves, just wondering, which pack would you make the XP pack? It's still the 81 plus pack, guys. It's the only one that offers any sort of value. So I would just consider throwing into there. You're probably not going to pull anything, but the XP path rewards themselves have been awful in terms of value. So just something to keep in mind there. That's going to do it for this episode of Coffee and Chel. I'll see you guys tomorrow. And don't forget to check out my event video tonight. It will go over week 2 of the FaceTime event. You can also catch me live on Twitch. I go live at 2 p.m. Eastern time, essentially every single day. I'll see you guys then. Have a good one.